Hi everyone, we continue to do our lab here for the VPC idea. If you remember, this is the previous tutorials here. We're gonna do the 4 VPC, each two VPC for each region here. Before to start, you have to be have AWS Management Console. You have to create account in AWS account. This one give you free 1 year practice. So if you need to do any lab, whatever should be do in that portal. And before to start, how to go or how to do the server inside the AWS, this is they call EC2. You can see all the services from here. You just press here services. This is the compute, they call compute. EC2, you can create the server. What I try to say, we cannot create server or we cannot configure any server without network environment, without network infrastructure here. So I can say launch the new EC2. For example, I will select this operating system. Then I say next. You see here, if you don't have subnet or network, you cannot create a server. So that means the network part or the VPC is very important even for start point. So I go to the service again. I will write it down here VPC, which is mean the virtual private cloud. So I just go here and you can find as well when you go to the services here, you can see here, this is they call network content and delivery here. So the first option they call VPC. So I go to the VPC here, VPC. And the VPC is by region, so you can see here which region you need to start with. You can see here which region you need to start here. Let's start with Canada here, for example. So in Canada here, central Canada here, you can see I don't have VPC. If I go to the VPC here, I don't have any VPC here. And by the way, there is a default VPC for each region. It's Amazon created by default. I already removed it, so I can do now create VPC. So I'm gonna do 2 VPC in Canada and 2 VPC in Singapore and do communication between them. So I just create. They ask me this is what I say VPC 01. And the block will be 10.10.0.0/16. Here the option they say, do you need IPv6? No, I don't need IPv6. They say, do you need a default or you need real detected device environment? I need a default. This means the virtual network inside the physical devices. You can select detected devices for each VPC, but will be expensive for you. So I say close. This is the first VPC here. As you can see, I create another VPC. VPC 02 with 2020.0.0/24/16, sorry. And as well default. So you can see here I have 2 VPC. I have 2 VPC here. Where in okay, at the same time, you can even do the subnet because VPC, you need subnet. When I go here to subnet, I can see there is no any subnet after that route table. But by the way, when you create 2 VPC for each VPC, they created automatically route table. This is the first route table for the VPC1 and the second for VPC2. Let's do the subnet here. I will do the 2 subnets. I will say it will be the name first, so I say net 01 or net 1 only. So this is in which VPC. I select the first VPC here. And what is the block or CIDR block? So I say 10.10.1.0/24. Remember, in base to the design here, for each VPC, we need 2 subnet, okay? So I will go here. There's the first subnet for the VPC1. Then I say create. I create another VPC, another subnet, sorry, at the same VPC. So I say net 2 will be in the same VPC here, and the subnet will be 10.10.2.0/24. All right. So another 2 subnet in the second VPC. So I just create here. I keep going with the net 3 and VPC 2 right now. Okay. Basically, the VPC actually is like a domain name or like a border for your network. So I say here it will be 2020.1.0/24. Then the last subnet here will be net 4 with the VPC 2 and will be 2020.2.0/24. All right, you can see here I have a 4 VPC 4 subnet, 2 for each VPC. You can see 1 and 2 in the same VPC, which is they call VPC 1, 3 and 4 in VPC 2. The IP address is 20.20.20. So you can see just a quick check here. You can see the details for each subnet. Subnet 2, this is under 10.10.2, and you can see as well this is under VPC 1. If I go, for example, to net 4, it is 20.20.22. When you can see here, this is the VPC 2. How about the route table here? You can see I have 2 route tables for each route table. When you click here, this is a default automatically. This one, the first one for VPC 01, the second one for VPC 2. By the way, we can create route table as well. They will ask you, give me the name and give me for each VPC. Each VPC can create it more than 1 route table without any issue, no problem. Okay, I will going to do the same thing in Singapore region, so let's go there. This is the Singapore portal here. You can see VPC. You can select VPC from here, or you can again to go to the network part, then you can just press VPC there. I will create 2 VPC, which is the same. Our design will be again the VPC 3 and VPC 4. So I will say your VPC here, then I create the first one. So it will be VPC 04 or 03. Then the block will be 30.0.0/16. Remember, this is the major block should be here, and just to create here, and another one will be 40. And by the way, the type of create the VPC right now a little bit difficult if you have a big project. That's why we have the automation part, VPC 04, because if you need to provision a lot of network, a lot of VPC, actually this way is not that much help you. That's why we need to do the they call it automation, which is some part in AWS they call it cloud formation. Probably we're talking about this one as well later on. So 40.40.00 and default. So I have here the VPC 4 as well. As you can see here, I have 2 VPC. Again, route table is there. We don't need to create anything. So let's do the subnet for each VPC 2 subnet. So I create subnet here. The subnet name will be net 1. Then which VPC? VPC 3. Then the IP will be 30.1.0/24. Then create. Then another 3 subnet. Second subnet will be net 2. Then VPC 1. Then the IP will be 30.2.0/24. All right. Now I do the 2 subnet to the second VPC. So I will go here to create net 3 and will be in VPC 4. Then will be 40.1.0/24. And the last subnet here as well for the Singapore region. I create another one, which is net 4. Then VPC 4, then will be 40.40.2.0/24. All right, everything looks good now. I have 2 VPC in Singapore. For each VPC, two subnets, as you can see here, subnet 1 and 2 in VPC 1 there, and subnet 4 and 3 in VPC 2. Perfect. Now let's go to create the server. We need a 4 server for each region and test the connectivity between them.